Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Shilpa Data Insights. In this video, we are going to see how to create data frame. In the previous video, we saw what is a data frame, what is an RDD, what is the difference between an RDD and data frame. And in this video, we will concentrate on how to create data frame using different methods. So I have opened up a notebook in the Databricks and I have attached it with the cluster YouTube Databricks runtime 13.3 LTS. In the first cell, I'm importing some modules like the Pyspark.sql.types. I'm importing the datetime module and then the Pandas module. And from the SQL, I'm just importing the row. Now, in order to create a data frame, we have a keyword called create data frame, which is inside the Spark. So if you want to check out the documentation of the create data frame, you just have to run this command called help spark.create data frame. It will go ahead and say what arguments it will accept. Like it will accept a data and it is going to accept any iterable. It could be a list, it could be an RDD, it could be a file, right? All these things you can put it inside the create data frame. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and create the data frame using a list of rows. So in that list of rows, I have used this row module from the SQL. Okay, and in this row, I'm mentioning one particular row, which is A. A means is my column. Okay, data frame is what? Data frame is a list of collection of all the data in a tabular format, right? So I'm declaring the first row, which is having the column A as 1, B is having the value 2, C is having the string value, and then D is having the date, and E is having the end time. So each row here will display one row of a table. Okay, so let me execute this and show it to you. So this is my data frame, that is A, which is a big int. It has inferred the schema by its own. I'm not declaring any schema here. So it's checking the data of this particular data frame and it is automatically deciding what data type it should have for this particular column. So for A column, it has decided it will take big int. Then similarly for B column, as it is a float type, right? So it has taken a double as your data type. And C column is having the string also, it has taken it as a string. And the date column is the date and E column is your timestamp. So it has inferred the schema. Let's say I want a different schema out of this, right? So I can go ahead and declare my schema explicitly. How will you do that? We have a keyword called schema inside the create data frame. So using this argument schema, you can mention your own schema. So here my first row is having A column, right? I'm not mentioning here as A. If you will see on the top, we mentioned it as A equal to 1, B equal to 2, but here I'm not showing that. I'm mentioning that schema inside my schema argument as A. And what should be its schema? It should be either a long type, a float type, or an integer type. So I'm mentioning it as a long. And B as double, C is my data type as string, and D is having date, and E is having the timestamp. So if I execute this particular thing, you will see the data is displayed here as a data frame. I'm not doing any action here. There are two types of operations, transformations and action. I'm not calling any action. I'm just creating a data frame and I'm just going ahead and checking the DF1, what should be the schema. So it's not going ahead and creating any kind of job or stages. It's just going ahead and showing me what is my data type. If I do this df1.show, then it will go ahead and display me what exactly is the data, and it is an action. So it is going to create a job and display everything. So here it displays A as 1, B as 2, C as string 1, right? So it has created a Spark job. And after calling an action itself, all the transformations are actually called and it goes ahead and shown us the result. I will go ahead and give you the complete session on transformation and action. I will put that in the description box so you can go ahead and watch that transformation and action video as well. Now, I have created my data frame using a normal list of rows, okay, in which I have used an infer schema method and I have used a explicit schema method in which I can mention the schema and it has taken that schema to display my data frame. Now, the second way to create a data frame is using pandas. So I'm creating a pandas data frame for that. So for that, I have imported the module called pandas as PD. So if you will see, I have imported the pandas as PD. So I'm using that pandas. Now in this pandas, I have a module again called data frame. Using that, I will be creating a pandas data frame. So pandas data frame accepts a dictionary, so I'm mentioning the column name as a string and as the key and the values after the colon, like a dictionary itself. Okay. And once the pandas data frame is created, from that, I will be recreating the data frame as a Spark data frame. So there are two ways using the Spark create data frame itself. You can create it using a list of rows, or you can use a pandas data frame to go ahead and create your Spark data frame. Now, if you will see, now the Spark data frame has been created. If I will go ahead and show it to you, it will give me the same result because I have my input data set same. So I'm doing the df.show. All my columns are present with my data. So now the data is displayed. The third way to create your data frame is using your RDD. So in RDD also, you can mention what are your columns inside the list and what is your data. Data should also be inside the list, and inside that list, it will have a tuple. So every row is inside one particular tuple. So website, let's say, is a Coursera and the language they are offering is Java and the score that it has is 200. So this is particularly one row. Similarly, the second row is this particular, that is scalar, Python and 100. And the third row is this. So each row is inside a tuple which is inside the list. And how you are creating an RDD out of this is using a Spark context with a parallelize method. Inside the parallelize, you are mentioning your data. So in this, first you have created your RDD. Let's say you have your RDD ready. Now, from the RDD, you want to create a data frame. How you can do that? Earlier, we used to have create data frame as a method. To create a data frame from an RDD, we have a method called toDF. So inside this toDF, I am going ahead and passing this RDD and I'm converting it into a data frame using this toDF method and storing it into a new data frame. Now, this particular data frame, I will go ahead and print the schema. Now, if you will see the schema here, it says _1 as string and then 2 as string, 3 as string. It has not taken the column names, let's say website, language, and score in our schema. So how you can do that? You can do that also. You have to define your schema explicitly. So inside the toDF, if you go ahead and call the columns method, right, it will take your columns as your schema and it is going to display you the result. Now, if I run this code, it should show me the data which is inside the column. So website is a column now, language is a column, score is a column, and all of them have a data type as a string. So now the data is ready with the schema that we defined in the data frame. The next method is how to create a data frame from the file. So let's say I have a file, okay, and I want to go ahead and create the data frame from that particular file. How will I do that? So for that, you need to use the method called read, okay. If you do go ahead and do this help command and do a spark.read, you will see what all methods are present inside this particular read command. So there are a lot of methods if you will see inside the spark.read. It is inside the class called Dataframe Reader. Okay. In this Dataframe Reader, you can read a CSV file. So right now we will be reading a CSV file as an example. So if you will see, the CSV file is having what? It is having a path. You can mention where exactly that file is located. Okay. Either it is located in DBFS or any S3 in cloud space, or it is in Hadoop. You can mention that path. And then what is the schema? Means what should be the structure of your data frame. Okay. And then you can mention the other options like encoding, and you have quotations. These are all optional parameters, but you need to mention the path, which is like a mandatory option that you need to provide. So you can read out this article, this documentation. It's very easy, very simple to understand. And it has given you the example also how exactly it can be done. Okay. So let me go ahead and create a data frame from the CSV file. So for that, I have this read and I'm mentioning the format as CSV. And what is the option? In option, I'm just putting header. Let's say I have a header in the file. So I'm mentioning the header as true, and where exactly my file path is located. For that, I have to mention load. Inside the load, I have to mention my path. Right now, my file is in DBFS location, so I'm mentioning it as a DBFS. So now let me run this command. It has loaded my data frame, if you will see, and it has created a Spark job with ID, name, and department. Okay, so my data frame is ready. Let me see how this data frame looks like first. So I'll just do df.show and it will display me the first 20 rows. Right now in my file, it has only 3 rows, so it is displaying 3 rows. But show command, what it does is it will display you the first 20 rows. If you will see here, it says integer is equal to 20. So it will display you the first 20 rows by default. If you want to change that number, you can change that number as well. Let's see, I don't have a header. So I can mention the header as false as well. And I'm also inferring the schema, right? So I'm mentioning the infer schema as true. Let me run this particular command, df without header. Now I will go ahead and print what is the schema. So if you will see, the header is C0, C1, C2. It means column 1, column 2. Earlier, it used to display me ID, name, and department as my header because I have mentioned the header as true. But now I have mentioned header as false. So it has not taken it as a header. It has taken it as a particular data itself. So my ID, name, department, it has treated as data. So let's say in a file, you don't have a header, right? And you just want to load the complete data. So you need to mention the header is false and it will load all your data. And explicitly, it will mention what is your column name as C0, C1, and C2. If you don't want to infer the schema, you want to explicitly mention the column names, you can do that also. Now, let's say I have my header false, okay, as in the previous case, and I don't want this ID, name, and department. I want to skip this first row. So we have a method called skip rows inside the option. If you mention skip rows equal to 1, means the first row it has skipped. Now, if you will see that ID, name, and department is no longer there, and has just displayed me the result. So this is how exactly you can create a data frame. In the next session, I will show you how to go ahead and explicitly mention the schema, what all arguments to be passed, what is a struct type. There are a lot more things that I will explain you with the schema specifically. I hope you have learned something new today. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you have a good day.